Okay, we are live. So, hi, Club More. Welcome back to another video. And today's video is a live. And so, I am doing a series, a YouTube series called Worthy Women Winning. And I wanted to do this series basically to showcase women who are thriving after divorce. And so I am a coach and mentor in the divorce space. And so I just wanted to give people who are separated and divorced and going through that transition, that hard time, I wanted them to see that there is joy and freedom on the other side of divorce. And so I am also doing a one-on-one beta program, a one-on-one beta coaching program, and I'm looking for women for that. So if you are separated, if you are divorced, and you are ready to rediscover yourself and like take your life back during that, and you need guidance through that process, you can head over to bit.ly slash the worthy mother and book a discovery call, 15-minute discovery call for that. Uh-oh, what happened?
Did it mess me up?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Let me see.
Oh,
Nope.
there you
Okay.
are. Okay. And also I wanted to make a disclaimer. I do this channel was originally a mommy baby channel. So I do have a daughter and she is in the background. And so if she comes in here, if you see her, hear her, if I have to be interrupted, just know I have a 3-year-old. And so I just felt like I should say that because just to be transparent with everything. And plus, I think it's a good thing to to say that anyway, because it goes hand in hand with the whole divorce separation thing. Because usually when things like this happen, the children are usually with the mom most of the time. And so it's just cool to still see that you can still be here creating content and do things as a single mom after the whole transition period. And so, with that being said, I'm going to hop into the interview. And so, for our first guest, we have Aja, right?
Asia.
Asia. Okay. Asia Jackson. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
So yeah, you can just go ahead and start off by introducing yourself and just telling us a little bit about you.
Okay. So as you said, my name is Asia Jackson. I am 29 years old. I know we'll get into this in detail, but I was 20 years old when I got married military. And I began this whole journey, this divorce journey around we'll say 28. That was when I left. I am a Chicago native. I have lived in South Carolina. That was our first base. And now I am in San Antonio, Texas. Here is where I began. South Carolina was where I began my life as an adult. But San Antonio is where I began my life as an entrepreneur. So once the divorce, once everything kind of started to get settled and things like that, I'd been laid off a couple of times. I decided that it was time to start my own business. So I am currently the owner and sole operator of the Social Butterfly Effect. It is a virtual assistant agency. We offer administrative assistance as well as social media management. So that's pretty much a bit about me. I'm completing my MSW. I will have my master's completed probably the middle of this year. I have an internship to complete and then I am done.
Nice.
I will never do this again.
But that's awesome,
yeah.
though.
Yeah. So other than that, yep, that's just me. I am pretty much a homebody. I am a dog mom. And that's really it. If you have anything specific that you'd like to know, ask away.
All right. So with that being said, we'll jump into it. And so, okay. So the first question I have for you is, what environment did you grow up in? Did you grow up in like a toxic household, a healthy household, two-parent household, or what was that like?
So I actually grew up in a 2-parent household. My parents have been together for about 40 years. They've been married for about 36 or 37. So yeah, 2-parent household. not that it matters, but two-parent Black household. I feel like that is very important because I know a lot of times they try to make it seem like, the Black family is not a cohesive unit.
Yeah.
My family 100% was. My husband's family was as well. Um, it was not a toxic environment. I feel like I have a really great relationship with my parents, actually. Um, they're human. I'll put it that way. So they didn't have a manual. They didn't have a rule book or anything like that. They did the best that they could with what they had. And I'm forever grateful for that. So it was a very healthy environment. It was a safe environment. There are a couple of things that we talk about now that that I've needed some healing from, that they probably need healing from. But other than that, I feel like I grew up in an environment where I was nurtured, I was cared for. I didn't grow up on survival. I wasn't worried about when my parents were coming home. I wasn't worried about what we were eating. Like, I wasn't worried about any of the things that some of my friends were worried about. But I didn't realize that I was the anomaly where my friends were concerned. I was like the only friend, maybe one other friend, who came from a two-parent household where both parents were still together. So that's pretty much my childhood growing up.
Oh, that's awesome though. Like that is awesome because a lot of us, unfortunately, we didn't have that. So that is awesome that you did. So I'm going into the next question then. Um how did that household experience and like environment play a role in your future in relationships?
I think it had some positive qualities, or added some positive things for me, but also some negative things. So I didn't grow up in a house where, fighting was prevalent. So I have to say, and my mother, if you've ever spoken to my mom or anything like that, anyone who's spoken to her, she will say she doesn't necessarily feel like she taught her children conflict resolution in relationships. Because I never saw my parents argue. They didn't argue in front of us. I rarely heard my parents raise their voices at each other, if ever. So I think going in, I still was surprisingly emotionally intelligent. So going into some of the relationships that I've had, I definitely wanted to be like, empathetic. I wanted to show some form of altruism, because that's kind of what I saw growing up as well. My home was a revolving door, right? So if someone needed shelter in the family, they came to our house. So I think that it played a large role, but I think that also it kind of put me at a disadvantage because my father didn't talk to me about boys, right? My father didn't warn me about some of the things that men would do or would say or how they would act or whatever. I didn't really start having real conversations about relationships with my father until I had gotten married and my marriage was falling apart. Then it was, well, this is how it is. And this is, whatever. And it's like, well, had we had this conversation when I was 13, I probably wouldn't have had any of the problems that I had. We didn't talk about, we talked about things like sex, right? My mom would talk to us about these things, but it was very, scientific, and it was very religious. So there were no conversations about, the emotional attachments, the soul ties, how that can cloud your judgment. We didn't really talk about those things. It was, don't have sex because you can get pregnant. Don't have sex because you can get STDs. It was never, don't have sex because unless you are, fully aware that this is the person that you want to spend your life with, because they take a piece of you. It's a bonding experience. So that's pretty much where we were.
Yeah. And I think that's so important though, because a lot of parents don't realize, well, didn't, I don't know about parents now, but a lot of people before, like we were growing up, like they didn't teach us that type of stuff. They didn't, nobody wanted to talk about it. It was like maybe like a cringy subject. So they just, like you said, like just don't do it because of this and this, and then just go go along with it. And it's like, no, we have to dig deeper than that. And so I for sure want to do that with my daughter, for sure, because I didn't know much either.
Yeah, and it's a scary thing, to realize. I had these hard conversations with my mom, now, and it is a hard pill to swallow, when you realize my child went through a lot of things because she felt like she couldn't talk to us about stuff. My child suffered silently because she felt that she couldn't talk to us about things. And it's like, as an adult, now, yeah, I probably could have. But as a child, it's like, I got in trouble instead of you actually talking to me and getting to the root of the issue.
Yeah.
So it was just, it's good that that's something that you want to do with your daughter now, creating that open and safe environment.
Definitely, because I'm just like, she don't know everything.
Okay.
Like
Put her
everything
on
I know, you
game.
don't know, because down to credit, debt, all of that stuff. Because I didn't
Everything.
know anything about that type of stuff either. And so,
Yes,
like, yeah, anything I learn, she gonna learn too.
for
So,
sure.
okay. So the next question is, what space were you in before you met your ex-husband?
So, I met him when I was 18.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
I went to college when I was 17 years old. So I turned 18 once I got there. And I was operating in a space of, I guess, trying to heal from past traumas, but not necessarily really knowing how to. I was one of those kids that was bullied from, the time I started school, really, sometimes even up until the time that I went to undergrad. Like, you would think, when you grow up, that changes things. But I had to learn very early on that chronological age is not synonymous with maturity levels.
Yeah.
So I was kind of operating in a space of, I guess, like, seeking acceptance and validation from, other people, because there were still some things, like I said, my home life was great. But there were still some things that I felt was missing, that I felt that I needed, especially, like, where the relationship with my father was concerned. And even sometimes with my mom. So I think that I kind of picked my friends based on certain things. I noticed that I worked a lot more, or befriended a lot more people um, who needed me, as opposed to people who wanted me.
Okay.
Um, so just really just operating in this lonely, this lonely space. I was very lonely, and like I said, I was seeking validation, and I was seeking acceptance, and I just wanted to be loved, right?
Yeah.
Operating in a space where I had no self-love, so I wanted love however it came about.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. A lot of us, especially being at that age of like teenage years,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of us go into like relationships and stuff, and that's literally the premise of why we're in it. And I mean, it's unfortunate because it just comes with, I guess, ignorance,
Yeah.
because we just don't know.
Yeah.
And we don't know that that's what, like, why we're there or why we're seeking that relationship with those people. But um yeah, it all, I guess, knowing at the end of the at the end of the day, finding that out is
Right.
the best
It's like, should have learned
option.
all of
Yeah.
this before
Yeah.
you brought someone else into it. And it's crazy
Exactly.
because a lot of times you don't learn all of this stuff until you bring someone in it.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
it's like making sure you've brought someone in who understands, I'm operating in this space. This is where I plan to go. But then it's also kind of like, well, they tell us not to date someone's potential. So what do we do? Do I
Exactly.
stick with this person while they're, working toward their goals? Or
Mhm.
do I say, like, well, come holler at me when you get there?
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. And I'm right now, the place that I'm at right now, I'm gonna tell you to holler at me when you get there.
ah, yeah, I think I'm kind of at a different space. Um, just a tad bit. Like, I need you to at least be on the journey and the path to healing. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, I need to know that you're working towards something. I need to know that you have some type of goal in mind. But it also, I know some goals don't make sense. So if I can wrap my head around it where it's like, it doesn't make sense, but I know where you're going,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
definitely.
fine. But For sure. There won't necessarily be like a committed relationship until, you know, like we've hit some type of baseline.
Yeah.
But I think this go around, I was very harsh when where dating was concerned when I was younger. Now that I know what I know, it's kind of like, I can walk with you.
Get back in there, please. Sorry.
Back, y'all.
Okay. So I guess we can go into the whole story of your like the marriage and what you feel like went wrong in the marriage to where it ended in divorce. So the whole story of that.
Oof. So, like I said, I was 18 when I met him. There were some issues in the beginning of the relationship that should have been red flags for me. They were red flags. Let's just, you know, like call it what it is. And so at 18, 19 years old, you would have thought that a bull was my spirit animal because I'm like chasing these red flags. Like, it's okay. You know, I love him. We can make it work and,
Exactly.
you know, whatever. But there were just some things that in the beginning, I feel like I was ready for something that he necessarily wasn't ready for. And so the first thing that I did that was wrong was instead of just walking away when I wasn't getting what I wanted, I basically told him, we've been messing around for a year. Everyone who sees us knows that, you know, like we're some sort of couple, even though you haven't put a name on it. Right. And I had gotten to a point where I'm like, we're not in third grade, right? Like, I don't need you to give me a note that says, will you go out with me? Yes, no, maybe. If I'm sleeping with you and I'm cooking for you and I'm spending every night at your house and I'm supporting you, you know, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, we're together.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
We're together. People know that we're together. Stop playing with me. That was wrong on my part. You know what I mean? Like, I should have continued to have kind of those conversations. I was still an open communicator. But what I did was I told him, what is it that we're doing? Because I feel like you've wasted a year of my life. Right. And he basically told me, well, I figured, you know, if we went to basic training, or when I went to basic training for those 8 weeks, you know what I'm saying? When I come back, if things were still good, then I figured, you know, like we'd move forward then. So where I was concerned, I was like, well, if you go to basic training and there's no commitment and you're single, you're going to come back single because I'm not waiting on you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not someone who's going to wait around on a relationship and wait around to see what you're going to do. Like, I'll just get with the next person. It's not a problem for me. So he heeded that warning and we like literally, you know, made it official the very next day. The issue in the beginning was that there were other women, you know what I mean? And that I didn't get that information like outright from him. I had to find things out. So once I found things out, you know what I mean? What I can say is my husband never cheated on me while we were married. As far as he's concerned, he never cheated on me because technically when he was dealing with these other women, we weren't together. Right. After the fact. So, you know, semantics, we kind of got past that or whatever. I figured it out. There was one person in particular that kind of made our relationship go downhill. If I'm not mistaken, she's still actively involved with his family to this day. Right. Like he had been messing around with this girl for about 3 years prior to meeting me and was playing both sides of the fence because he's not a confrontational person. He doesn't want to hurt someone's feelings and things like that. So he kind of was like, I don't know, telling me one thing, telling her one thing. She and I actually ended up having a Barbara and Shirley moment. And we got all of the information that we needed. And he asked me a very important question when I found out and I brought it to his attention. And he said, do you want to break up? Right? Because I'm caught. You know, what else am I going to do? Do you want to break up? And I told him, no, you're going to fix this. Right. Instead of just saying, you know what? Yeah, I think we've, you know, hit the end of the road. This is like the third or fourth thing that I found out. Like, let's just call it quits. I did not do that. I think the other thing that I went wrong on was I don't forgive very well. Right. And we know that forgiveness is for me. It's not for him. It's not for anyone else. So I went into the rest of our relationship not fully forgiving him. When I should have and I could have, right? So I did make it very difficult for him in the beginning. I have to be very honest because I was working in the spirit of anger and hurt and sadness. Then we moved, right? So once all of that got situated and we finally figured out what was going on, he decided, that it was time for us to get married. And the thing was, surprisingly, I was not rushing the process, right? I was like, you know what, we can wait. Yeah. I'm still in undergrad, like let me finish school. We can do premarital counseling or whatever. And I think over the course of our relationship, I had been in 2 sexual assault situations. So the first one was the one that made him feel like, no, we need to get married because I need you where I am because we're in 2 separate states. I can't protect you in 2 separate states, right? And and he was upset with me because was like, why won't you call the police and why won't you whatever? And I'm like, I'm a Black woman and there was alcohol involved. You do the math, right? So that first one, that kind of threw him off. He was upset, but we got past it. The second one, I know a lot of people didn't know this, so the second one resulted in a pregnancy and resulted in me having to terminate that pregnancy because that was a situation that wasn't consensual. And for me, I wasn't comfortable bringing a baby into that situation, but also making my husband raise this child. And he wasn't here for it either. He's like, I understand what you went through or whatever, but I can't. I can't do it. So there was a big decision to make there. It was that I feel like completely broke the camel's back. Because for him, it was like, this is the second time that something has happened like this to you. And now I don't know if I can trust you, right? Like, how do I know you're not telling me these things because you wanted to cheat on me and blah, 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 right? And I understood that. I gave him that. So once that happened, it kind of was just like, it was just a tank, there was no closeness to us anymore. We went from fighting over how many children we would have because he's the oldest of 5 and I'm the youngest of 2. And I'm like, you get 2. That's it. I want to try. And I'm like, that's not happening. You know what I'm saying? So we went from that to I don't want to have children at all on his end. I don't want to be a dad. I don't want to do this. And then it kind of went to, well, I mean, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it happens, it happens. And for me, I still don't want that to be what I don't want that to be the reason we have kids, right? I don't want you to have to love your kid because it's here. I want you to love your kid because you wanted to have this baby with me. So yeah, it was like, and like I said, that was some information that a lot of people never knew, right? Only my closest friends knew that. And so it just went down here from there. It was like a switch flip for him. And we weren't friends anymore. And when I come to think of it, honestly, we weren't friends to begin with. And I think that's where it went. I used to tell him all the time, you were my best friend, but I was never yours. Right. So once we moved to, South Carolina and all of that stuff, it's just like, I felt by myself. I finally started to learn who he was as a person, and he's not a bad person. You know what I mean? We just weren't compatible, especially if, I started to realize we weren't compatible because a lot of times when you go through something like when you're married, it's supposed to be, through sickness and in health and all of this, and we're supposed to be able to work through everything together, and we couldn't work through this together. We had tried marriage counseling, and he flat out was like, I don't think we need it. It's not working. We're not doing it. And if that's a deal breaker for you, then let me know. So there were a lot of things that we didn't do. For the most part, he went to work and played video games, and I was never home for real. I was out with my girls, and I was out, at my friends' houses, or, I'd bring him around to my friends, and it was kind of like an uncomfortable situation. I'd bring him around my family. It was an uncomfortable situation because they felt like he didn't like them. And I'm like, no, he's just introverted until he gets around the people that he's already comfortable with. Yeah. So it was just a really weird mix of things. And so it just finally got to a point where we also had different beliefs, right? We had different values on things like money. My parents shared everything. When I say everything, everything from the bathroom to the closet to bank accounts. When I got married, when we moved and we got into a home that had 2 full baths, he's like, the master bathroom is yours, and I'm gonna take this one. Like, we had already set our marriage up for failure because we were dividing everything. We had a joint bank account, but it was more so like we never used it.
Yeah.
We never used it. I had to ask him, if I needed some money for something or whatever, I had to ask him for it. I didn't, like, have immediate access to it. There was no, let's put our money together. We didn't talk about those things. So I think that we both he looked at his parents' marriage, which is, I think his parents have been married for like maybe 18 plus years. But he looked at his parents' marriage, which was good for them. It worked for them. And I looked at my parents' marriage and I thought, like, no, my parents are doing it the right way. Like, this is perfect. And so, but I was still aware, like, but we're going to have to create a new household. Like, how do we bring that stuff together? Exactly. But I didn't agree with the separation of a whole bunch of things. And that just never worked for us. So, a lot of our things were separated. There were a lot of things that we both had never healed from, that we had both never really, forgiven ourselves or each other for. And it just snowballed. And one day I just kind of woke up. I feel like I tried to do everything that I could. Communicating, asking if I was doing anything wrong, asking, did you need anything from me, offering suggestions, trying to go to counseling. I was going to therapy for myself. I'm still in therapy. Going to therapy for myself, trying to go to therapy with the both of us. It just, nothing seemed to work. Nothing worked and nothing really grabbed his attention until I finally said, you know what, I don't know what else to do. Like, I see where your priorities lie, and you're not a bad person for it. You know what I mean? That's just where your life is headed, and that's okay. So I like to tell people all the time, like, I'm a wife 100%. I just wasn't his wife.
Yeah.
And that, and that's okay. We're still cool. We still talk. He's still very helpful. If I need him to do something as simple as come over and walk my dog, he's got me. If he needs me to go check on the cats for him or check on the house for whatever, he knows I'm there. So we still have a decent working relationship. It's just the romantic relationship. It just wasn't working.
Yeah. And sometimes it comes down to it being that simple, to where you just realize that this wasn't the man that God had for me from the beginning.
That's it.
And so it's like, you can't, like, God says, what he brings together, let no man separate, not what we bring together.
Exactly.
So if he didn't bring it together from the beginning, then it was probably bound to fail.
It bound to fail.
Yeah. So that's good. That was a good little story, and good little points. Okay, so the next question I have for you, after this whole process of the decline in your marriage, and you get to the point of telling him, like, I guess this is the end of the road. How did you go about healing from, I heard you say therapy, but how did you go about healing, your healing process after this whole situation?
Okay, so I am still healing, right? Definitely.
Which is fine. Fine, definitely.
So the healing process is definitely still ongoing. I feel like, it's going to be ongoing for a couple of years. I think one of the things to note that I have seen from a lot of women is initially, I tell people I left my marriage like 2 years before I actually left my marriage, right? So we had spent maybe a year or so living completely separate lives. He's on one side of the house, I'm on the other side of the house. And one of the biggest things that got me was, I noticed that part of my healing journey, right, started with self-sabotage. I started partying like crazy. I was never home, right? So I was partying, I was drinking like crazy. I'm talking like drinking fifths of liquor, you know what I'm saying, by myself, and I'm itty bitty. So it's mind blowing to me. Honestly, it's very mind blowing to me that I'm still here after some of the things that I had like done, because I was just so depressed, right? I was depressed. I felt like a failure.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to talk to my family about this stuff. I'm a
Mhm.
daddy's girl through and through. I didn't want my father to be disappointed in me.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I take things very literally, even though they're jokes. And so one of the things that my family always tells, anyone when they get married is like, y'all sure? Because like we don't do no returns, no refunds, no none of that, right? Like
Yeah.
this is it.
Yeah.
This is your person. But I
Yeah.
took that to heart.
Mhm.
And so I did. I started, like self-sabotaging, and I started really just like not treating myself the way I knew that I deserved to be treated. Like I offer so much grace and compassion and empathy to everyone else. I
Yeah.
speak so kindly to everyone else. And it was a friend of mine recently told me, I've never heard you speak good about yourself. So how can I believe any of the good things that you say to me about me when you don't love
Ooh,
you?
that's good.
You know what I'm saying? Right. And
That's
so
good.
when he said that to me, I was like, dang,
Yeah.
you're right. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You're right.
Yeah.
So but prior to even that conversation, it was just a dark spirit, a dark cloud, dark area. And then
Yeah.
I don't know, I think one day I just kind of woke up and I was like, you're gonna kill yourself at this rate. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And you got too
Yeah.
many things that you have to do. You have too many people who love you. You have too many people who are supporting you, right? Like
Yeah.
a few of my best friends, like for a year, they sat and listened to me cry about the same thing over and over again. None of them judged me. None of them told me, like, girl, like, just leave. Like,
Mhm.
no
Yeah.
one did that to me. They kind of
Mhm.
just let me go through this process. And then
Mhm.
afterwards, I started really, like being more active in therapy, but also like taking the things that she gave me. Because my first therapist was a man, and now
Mhm.
I'm working with a lady here in San Antonio. And what
Mhm.
I noticed about myself was like therapy is great. We tell people, therapy is good all the time, but a lot of
Yeah.
people don't realize that your therapist is going to give you homework,
Yeah.
and your therapist is going to give you things to do, right?
Yeah.
And they're going
Yeah.
to ask you tough questions, because a lot of times I sit in my therapy session, I'm like, girl, I didn't come here for this. I came here for you to let me
Exactly.
cry, tell you what's going
Exactly.
on with my life. You tell me I'm right, and then I'm out.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's not what it is. So the healing
Mhm.
journey now is really just a self-discovery period, right? What is
Mhm.
Asia like? What does
Yeah.
Asia like to do?
Yeah.
What am I good at?
Mhm.
Where am I passionate? What am I passionate about? Like, what have I done? What worked in the past? What didn't work in the past? Like,
Yeah.
where do I want to go now? And so once I did that, I also got my dog, like that's my homie. And I did. I worked toward getting an emotional support animal, and I've really just been working on being comfortable in my space, being
Mhm.
comfortable in my skin, being okay with being by myself.
Yes. Yes.
Telling myself, like, yes, I know that I'm a wife or whatever, but if I never am able to do this again, will I
Mhm.
be okay? Do
Yeah.
I, like, because I was walking around feeling like I needed that man,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? Like I
Mhm.
need him. He takes care of everything financially. He's the
Yeah.
reason that I have this house. He's the reason that, I went from my father's house to my husband's house. I never lived on my own until now.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, just working through all of that and kind of realizing like you're you're like the most important thing that you have, right? So
Exactly.
like treat yourself like you're the most important thing that you have. Love on yourself, right? Like I've been
Exactly.
talking to my friends about, we've been doing daily devotionals together, and
Mhm.
praying about things more, and being intentional about those prayers. um but also being vulnerable. I never allowed
Yeah.
myself to be vulnerable even with my friends. So calling
Yeah.
my mom, calling my friends and saying I'm not okay today,
Yeah.
like I need somebody to just come sit with me. I don't think
Yeah.
it's a good thing for me to be by myself today. Like
Mhm.
those types of things. So that's kind of where the healing process is. It's being honest with myself, but being honest with the people around me about what space I'm operating in
Mhm.
and what I do and don't need from
Mhm.
them and from myself.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. And yeah, like that's basically what I like the premise of my coaching and my mentoring is
Mm,
like that's the space after you get like after it's done, like whether you say it's done or he says it's done, like what happens after that space. And
exactly.
like you said, normally it's a depression state. And
Mm-hmm.
then until you get to this point where it's just like, okay, now I'm ready to get my life back. Like I'm ready
Yep.
to like be myself again or learn myself again because I don't know what I even like. Like I don't know how to be without him. And
Right.
like the reason why I'm so depressed is because now he's not there or we're not together. So it's like, so
What do
what
I
I'm gonna
do?
do? And so yeah, that was the whole premise of my coaching and mentoring because I know people that are in that space, like women that are in that space, they literally just need like they need somebody to
Mm-hmm.
talk to. They need somebody to go through as a guide and to help them through that because a lot of people don't know what to do at that point in time. So
And yeah, especially when all
um
your stuff is tied together. It's like,
exactly.
how do I do this by myself?
Exactly. So that is awesome. I wanted to know are you looking for love again or are you pretty much trying to chill out?
I I really don't know.
Mhm,
I'll be honest, I really don't know. I thought that I was like kind of ready to date again.
mhm.
Um but then it was kind of just like one of those things where it's like it just felt like there was piss in the dating pool. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just no more chlorine in the water. It's just trash out here. But I had been out of the dating scene for 10 years, you know, so
Yeah,
a lot had
yeah,
changed. Um, so I'm kind of where I am now is kind of just like whatever is supposed to come to me will come to me.
yeah, yeah.
You know, I am very much operating in this space of I made this mistake before, I won't make the same mistake twice.
Mhm.
So I will marry my best friend. Those are the things that I've been, you know, kind of having those I will affirmations with myself.
Yeah,
I will have, you know, marry my best friend. I will find the man of my dreams. I will, you know, whatever. But in the event that I don't, I'm still okay.
yeah,
So whatever comes to me comes to me. I'm like open to the idea of love, open to the idea of marriage and things like that. But I really just want to build a friendship with someone first. I don't want
yeah,
to get married or build a relationship on crack foundation again.
yeah. Exactly. So what are some like non-negotiables or green flags that you for sure are like these things need to be his personality, his character,
Mm-hmm.
his like he needs to have this type of morals or values, the non-negotiables that you're looking at.
Um, so non-negotiable. He has to be a believer,
Yeah.
100%. You know, even if we're not, you know, I don't go to church all the time anymore. I grew up in the church and things like that. I know that there's a lot of church PTSD and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But he does have to be a believer. You know, he has to at least be willing to pray with me and for me.
Hmm.
Um, if you know, I don't want someone who's going to turn their nose up when I say like, hey, you know, do you mind, you know, doing this couple's devotional with me or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but also someone who they have to be emotionally intelligent.
Hmm.
I can't do that again, right? I can't be with someone where I'm coming to them and I'm saying like something's wrong. And I'm not saying that you're the problem, but I know that there's something wrong with you. Can we dig deeper? And it's like, I'm fine. Everything's
Hmm.
good. It's like, no, everything's not good because you can clearly see us falling apart.
Yeah,
Um, so
exactly.
definitely has to have some emotional intelligence. They have to have self-awareness and actually know what that means.
Mhm.
Um, and even if they aren't there yet, like I said, you have to be on a path to healing. That is non negotiable. I am not taking any more applications from broken people, friend
Mhm.
or otherwise. Because the one thing that I've noticed is when you're a healer, you just attract all of these broken people, but it's like, all right, now who's healing me? Right.
Exactly.
So, and just has to be someone who, um, is comfortable with sharing that load with me, right? If I
Mhm.
can't do it, can you?
Yeah.
Is our household gonna fall apart? Because I have to be honest, I am very traditional, right?
Mhm.
I'm very traditional, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with my man being the provider, and you know him doing all those things. I'm not okay with not bringing in my own money, of course, but like I'm okay with him doing those things, and I'm okay with taking care of the house. I'm okay
Yeah.
with that. I'm okay with letting him be the head, not be the neck, and I kind of steer him in the right direction.
Yeah.
Um, I'm okay with those things. So, but I need to also be with someone who like understands that submission is not me bowing down to you. right? I think that a
Exactly.
lot of people don't understand, like what submission is. I saw submission in my home.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that you have to come from a wonderful background, because my father and my mother did not. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
they made a conscious effort to say, my children won't experience what I experienced. So I need
exactly.
to know that you have that mindset, um, that you're walking in purpose. That you have a
Mhm.
vision, that you have a plan. I need to know that I'll be able to follow you, and you won't follow me, like lead me to destruction. But I
Yeah,
also need to know that you take my opinions and things that I have to say into consideration before making a decision.
exactly.
So just really that. And then, like I said, being open to the idea of not putting a title on anything right now. Let's be friends,
Hmm.
right? Let's be
Yeah,
friends. Do you like me?
yeah,
Because I don't want to be with you if you
exactly.
don't like me, because you can love
Hmm.
somebody and not like them.
Hmm.
Do you like me? If we could never have sex, would you still want to hang out with me? If
Exactly.
if we could never be together, would you still want to be my friend? Like, those
Yeah,
things are very, very important to me. So if the relationship for them is immediately about sex, and they want to
hmm,
rush into something, and it's always, when can I come over, not when can I take you
yeah,
out,
exactly.
I'm
No.
good. Yeah. But just being
Yes.
open to the idea of the fact that, like, I am that friend and that girlfriend and that wife that's going to be in your business.
Hmm.
Right? I want to know what's going on. I want to know, are you okay? I want you to be open to the idea of me creating this safe space for you,
Yeah,
so that you can be vulnerable in your home, because as a man, you can't be vulnerable outside.
exactly. Yeah.
So if I can't get those things, then it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, and like recently I saw this post on Instagram that said like make sure that you're getting with somebody who wants to be a husband and not you just wanting to be their a wife. And so
Exactly.
like I kind of feel like that's what we go into, like we're not looking at if this person actually wants to take the role of a husband, or if it's just like the whole marriage thing, like,
Yeah.
oh, we want to get married, but do you want to actually be a husband? Because I know for a fact you gonna want that wife role. You gonna have
Right.
that, but are you willing to be that husband that leads me and steers me in the right direction? So
Yeah. I look
it
at my
seems like
dad.
you really know what you want. So that's really good to have that mindset of like, these are the things that I want, because I
Yeah.
know coming out of those situations, we know what we don't want, but a lot of people might not know what
What
they
they
do
want.
want.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I've seen that even with my coaching. Yeah, like I already went through all of these things, and I know I don't want this, I don't want that, but
What do
what
you
do
want,
you
though?
want?
What
Yeah, yeah, and
what
I feel
works for
like
you?
would you say?
Like, what works for you?
Yeah, what works for you? Yep.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, we're getting to the end of it. So, if you can go back to your younger self before marriage, I would say even before any relationship that you've had, what advice would you give yourself?
Ooh, one, listen to your gut.
Mm,
My gut has
that's
never
good.
lied to me.
That's
When I
good.
say
That's
never,
good.
and I mean never lied, I'm talking has saved my life, never lied.
Mhm.
She has never lied to me. And when I have not listened to her, I have found myself in some really wild predicaments, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it just was like always, I, I don't know. I always say, like, God definitely had a plan for my
Mhm.
life, because I know that some of the things that I had been doing, other people have been doing too, and they're no longer here. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's obviously a plan over your life, and so that's the thing. God has a plan for you. Like,
Yeah.
um, He knows what He has for you. There are going to be people, and there are going to be things that are going to be sent to tear you down, right?
Yeah.
But you're not going to shatter. You might crack a little bit, and have some scars and some bruises, but just to, one, love on yourself,
Yeah.
right? Because even if you didn't necessarily see it, what self-love was, but like really actively research it, look for it, figure out how to love on yourself,
Yeah.
because you can't expect somebody else to love you if you don't love you.
Exactly.
So yeah, just love on yourself, be patient with yourself, be gracious to yourself. But the other thing is, just go for it.
Mhm.
Whatever it is that you want, go for it. I went to a whole different college because my
Mhm.
dad wanted me to go somewhere else. Instead of me
Yeah.
saying, no, dad, I don't want to
Mhm.
go there. I don't care that a bunch of people that I went to high school go there. I want to go here.
Yeah.
So just, stand your ground. When
Mhm.
you know something, stick by it. Because
Yeah.
that was the reason why this marriage failed. There were so many things that I knew were
Mhm.
wrong. And I'm like, I love him. We can work past it. Like,
Yeah.
no, sis, y'all
Yeah.
can't. Just
Yeah.
walk on out.
Yeah. That's good. That's so good. So the last question is, what is the your greatest lesson learned from this entire experience?
Have your own. Have
Ooh.
your own everything. I would have left my marriage maybe 4 or 5 years ago
Mm,
had I actually been prepared.
mhm.
Most people don't leave because of finances,
Yeah.
right? I don't have the
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Um, so really just have your own, but like have your own, stream of income. And
Mhm.
I'm not this person that's gonna tell people have a secret bank account that he don't know nothing about. I don't do all of
Yeah.
that. Just make
Yeah.
sure you do at least have a fund though. So
Yeah.
that if something goes wrong, whether it's he dies, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He dies, y'all get a divorce, whatever, you're straight. So have your own, but also have your own identity. I
Yes. Yes.
completely forgot that I was a whole person
Hmm.
before I met this man.
Yeah, that was
Um,
me.
yes, like I was a whole person before I met this man, and
Yeah.
um, I don't know who she is anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know who she is. I don't know where she's going. I went through a period of resenting myself, resenting him because I didn't know who I was. So
Yeah.
having my own identity and having my own, something to fall back on in the event that this thing doesn't work. So now you will never catch me in a situation where I'm dealing with someone, and I do believe in codependency, but you would never catch me in a situation again where it's like I am solely reliant on this person unless it is something like I got sick and I absolutely cannot do it for myself. If
Yeah.
I'm able bodied, I'm going to do it.
Hmm. All right. That's good. That's good. Lessons learned. And so thank you guys for watching. Everybody who was on the live stream. I think it's gonna upload to YouTube afterwards, and it'll just be there for like as a regular video. But thank you so much, Asia.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being a part of this. You are our first guest, and I have many videos coming up next, but thank you for reaching out and being the first one. So
Absolutely.
thank
Thank you for
you. And
having
with
me.
no problem, no problem. And we'll come here because she didn't came in here now.
She's
So
happy. Let her do her thing.
say hi. Say hi, Clever More.
Hey. She's so
Hi,
pretty.
Asia. All right, go ahead. All right, so we're gonna close it out, and I'm gonna end the broadcast.